Hello, it's Rockstar Gambino here with a new video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the announcement of the remakes for Max Payne and then Max Payne 2, the Fall of Max Payne that was announced today, April 6, 2022. And that's basically what this first tweet thing here is. But I also wanted to show the fact that apparently the announcement was so huge that it apparently crashed investor site thing here that I'm about to be showing. So that was pretty interesting. The announcement was so huge it crashed their investor site. But yeah. The title of it is of course Remedy Entertainment enters agreement with Rockstar Games for new Max Payne 1 and 2 project, essentially like a remake for 9th generation systems, and then PC as we'll be seeing later. And that was of course the time of posting of it and whatnot. But yeah, Remedy Entertainment here is pleased to announce that it will remake the iconic Max Payne and then Max Payne 2 to Fall of Max Payne video games in a new agreement with Rockstar Games. The relationship between them dates back to the original releases of said games, developed by Remedy, and it was also published by Rockstar Games, as is basically known. Both left an indelible mark in popular culture for neo-noir atmosphere, groundbreaking storytelling, and then bullet time gunplay. And yeah, that bullet time gunplay was definitely a pretty huge thing that this series introduced. Basically would inspire abilities in other Rockstar titles and later on, such as Deadeye and the Red Dead series, and also, for example, Michael in Grand Theft Auto 5 has the slowing down time special ability. So it was definitely a pretty huge Rockstar game in that regard, with the bullet time gunplay vibe especially, I would say. And yeah, they were thrilled when Rockstar was thrilled when approached with Remedy, said Sam Houser there, founder of Rockstar. Lots of fans of the work Remedy team has created over years and can't wait to play the new versions. And yeah, Max Payne always had a special place in the hearts of everyone at Remedy, and millions of fans worldwide feel the same, says the CEO of Remedy, Taro Vertala, whatever. Hugely excited to be working with partners at Rockstar Games once again for the chance to bring back story, action, and atmosphere of the original Max Payne games back to players in new ways. And then yeah, these last two kind of have the most interesting details, I would say, so far of this entire announcement for the Max Payne 1 and Max Payne 2, the Fall of Max Payne remakes. But yeah, under development agreement signed today, Remedy will develop games as a single title for PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S using its proprietary Northlight game engine. So definitely some pretty huge initial details here so far, I would say. So obviously for one, it's going to be a single title, so it's not going to be the Trilogy Definitive Edition, where even though you did buy it as one title, it was 3 completely separate titles that you basically bought under one price essentially. This one sounds like it's going to be one thing you get, and then both of them are in the same entire game. Which is definitely nice, because you might be able to, for example, on the PlayStation 5 streaming, you might be able to decide, I don't want to play the first game anymore, that way I can switch to the second one, and then I don't have to, do, a whole different, stream to be able to show off the 2 different games and whatnot. So if they do it as, one, game for both titles, instead of having it, 3 separate, then that would definitely be pretty nice. And yeah, another thing, obviously, PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S. Obviously, that confirms that it will not be available for the 8th generation systems, even though basically they are initially 6th generation games of Max Payne and then Max Payne 2, because those were back in the PlayStation 2 and original Xbox days. So it will be great to know that these games will not be held back because of the 8th generation systems. I'm definitely very glad that these will be only on 9th generation systems, as a 9th generation system owner myself. And yeah, the Northlight game engine, more details on that later, but it's basically like the main like in-house like engine for like Remedy Entertainment or whatever. Unlike the GTA like Trilogy Definitive Edition, where I think they basically used like Unreal Engine 4, like an Epic like games engine, and not like their own like Rage engine or something for like Rockstar, for example. So I've definitely seen some very good signs of this set of remakes compared to the Trilogy Definitive Edition, which ended up kind of being a disaster to say the least. And yeah, the development budget will be financed by Rockstar Games, size of which will be typical Remedy AAA-game production. Again, more details with that all like later on. But yeah, apparently Rockstar is financing the game development budget, so that's pretty interesting there. Dang it, that's probably kind of what they did like back then with the first and second games back on the 6th generation systems. But yeah, under agreement, Remedy apparently has like a royalty kind of thing. Once the development, marketing, and other costs has basically been paid for. So I think that basically means they get like a percentage of like any sort of money after like development costs and whatnot has basically been paid for, as far as I understand, with like a royalty, kind of just a business thingy there. And yeah, in terms of like the state the project is in currently, it is apparently in the concept of development stage. So they're kind of just developing the concept of it, it sounds like. So it definitely sounds like it's very early on, and it could be like a year-long thing, so who knows, it could even be like a couple to few years like away from release even to this day. This might just be like the initial announcement of it, essentially, that's kind of like starting to be in the works. But yeah, then there's this section here. Obviously, everyone basically knows about like Rockstar Games, but for those who are not familiar with Remedy Entertainment PLC is a globally successful video game company known for story-driven and visually stunning console PC games such as Control, Alan Wake, and Max Payne. So that kind of basically gives the idea of like the kind of like stuff they work on and whatnot, and kind of like the quality in a sense that these games could end up being in and whatnot. Also develops its own basically in-house Northlight game engine, so it's kind of basically their engine in the sense that Rockstar has their like Rage engine, so it's kind of like alternative to Rockstar's Rage engine in a way, if that makes sense. And game development tools, out in 1995, based in Finland, and all that other kind of stuff. But yeah, I will say, I definitely am not the biggest in like need for this remake. I do have Max Payne 1 on the PS4 and the PS5 and also PC. And then I do also have Max Payne 2 on PC, so for me it's not really the biggest like want per se compared to some like other like remakes and stuff, but regardless, I definitely think it's definitely going to be much more hyped than the Grand Theft Auto, the Trilogy Definitive Edition, because those games have been remade quite a couple times, I would say. I know the first Max Payne at least has like a mobile version. I don't think Max Payne 2 got that same treatment though. So it's definitely cool to be seeing the second game get some like new love here, it seems. Like personally, if they were to like remake a single Max Payne game, I would say Max Payne 3 would be my biggest one, because I've never really played Max Payne 3 personally. I do have Xbox 360, but it's quite dated now, obviously, so I wouldn't really care to go back to that and whatnot. So yeah, my one criticism is that I feel I should complete the trilogy with the Max Payne 3. Having the whole trilogy in like one package, would be very amazing, no doubt. And yeah. And I don't know, maybe that does suggest that with like the new PlayStation like Plus like Premium, that Max Payne and Max Payne 2 might not be a couple of those like games that will be coming in like the new PlayStation Plus like Premium like $120 like subscription like service essentially. But yeah. Anyways, that's all of the information that I could think of from this like announcement, dimension, and whatnot. Hope you enjoyed.